I didn't do it. The third party did it. That's what Mark Zuckerberg is saying to Joe Rogan. He's like, oh, we don't want to be in the position of making those decisions about, oh, do we censor the laptop? Do we do that? Or other things too. So many different things that are so big, controversial, political, globally, all these different things, what should be allowed on Facebook. So Mark was talking to Joe Rogan about that. And he said, oh, we just created this third party thing. We hired the best people in the world, and we do the fact checking through them. Like, they do it. We don't do it. They do it. So if there's any problems, like if the FBI comes out like they did a few days ago and say, turns out that the laptop thing might be real, but never mind that, because we came to Facebook early on years ago and said, don't talk about it. Don't let people talk about it. And so Mark is like, all right, but I'm not the one doing it. A third party's doing it. So it's not my fault. Let me blame it on other people because, hey, look at this. Balancing power and, the separation of power, which is what the United States is built on. The three branches of government. There's a lot of nice things that Mark says in this 3-hour interview he did with Joe Rogan. I'm looking at it, and I only got 1 more hour left, and a lot of it is just empty platitudes. Like, it sounds nice on the surface, and you don't know. Like, I don't know, what is Mark thinking? Does he have good intentions? You can say, well, he means well, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what is going to happen is more important than what is in his head. Either Mark is an evil mastermind, or he's an idiot. I mean, doesn't matter which one it is. Either he is aware of the purpose that these things have, whether it be directly or indirectly. Whether he knows it or not doesn't really matter. Whether Mark is just a puppet or not, completely or partly, doesn't really matter. But I want to emphasize on the fact that we may not totally know. I mean, we could probably speculate, unless if there's evidence that can prove that Mark is up to no good with some of the other people, like in the cabal and the corporate tyranny, people who are colluding together around the world to control the world and bring down the population and everything. If there's evidence to that, I've not personally seen it. As of right now, I've not personally seen it. I probably should have looked for them, but seriously, I probably should have looked for them. Just for the evidence so that I can be like, oh, I know Mark is evil. I saw the papers, I saw the videos, or whatever the evidence might be. But as of right now, I can't exactly say. But anyways, I'm just still taking notes on the entire interview. And I just see it as Mark is trying to look cool. And for a period of time in the middle of the video, during the second hour, Mark is saying things like, oh yeah, I'm surfing, yeah, I'm so cool, I got friends, and I'm doing karate, and stuff like that. And it's nice, but number one, you're not here for that. I mean, it's nice that you're a human, you're not a robot, alright. You're trying to let everybody know, oh, stop with the Facebook Mark is a robot meme. It's is that what you're trying to counter? And we should be talking about, should Facebook be banning people and stuff? And so Joe brought it up, all that kind of stuff, And he did it in a pretty clever way as to not like directly attack Mark. And then Mark said a couple different things, and he said, yeah, that's really tough, making those decisions, who to ban, who not to ban, what should be allowed on the platform, what should not be allowed. And then he talked a lot about curation. And one of the things I noted on that is it's like, I'm not necessarily against the ability for AI to recommend stuff to me. That's nice. And they talked a lot about that, a little bit too much, but it's like, that shouldn't be the focus. It's like, of course, you can have AI algorithms that can do that kind of stuff. Like they talked a lot about that. Like it's like, say, I'm really interested in guitars, and I'm looking at guitars and watching videos about guitars and posts and looking at photos and Googling guitars and stuff, and the algorithm could pick up that I like guitars, and then in my news feed on Facebook I could see a lot of more posts about guitars. It's like, oh wow. And then maybe they can recommend me to some people and some bands that I may like. And they were talking about that ability to do it. That Instagram does it, Spotify does it, Twitter does it, Facebook does it, YouTube does it. A lot of these platforms do that. They do that. They recommend stuff to you based on your interests, and all that's good and dandy. But the bigger question would be, can I turn it off? And better yet, can I modify that? Can I edit that? And that's what I liked about MySpace and Zynga and Bebo. Some of these older social media platforms and websites and apps back in the day in the early 2000s, that first decade, there were some good websites out there, including MySpace. Whatever happened to Tom? Here we have with, now we have Mark. I'm sorry. I almost forgot Mark. Like, who's Mark? No, I didn't forget who he was. I was just thinking. I was trying to come up with something that rhymes with Tom, and that's why I was hesitating. Like, really hesitating. Like, what rhymes with Tom? Can I make up a joke right now? And then I decided not to. That's why I was hesitating. If you're wondering why I was hesitating, sometimes humans do that. But it's like, I like the freedom to be able to decide when to do something and when not to do something. Now, an algorithm is cool. I'm not saying that it's not cool. The problem is if you're stuck in a situation where the algorithm is always on and you cannot modify it, that's not cool. And so there's no talk about that. Joe Rogan talking to Mark Zuckerberg, they're not talking about, oh, can the individual edit their user experience? No. Yeah, they can edit some stuff, but compared to what they used to be able to do, and the stuff that you were able to do on MySpace, it's nothing. Now, Mark and some people might be like, oh, it's not possible. Give me a break. It was possible 10 years ago. You're saying, oh, with the technology we have now that's so advanced, we can't do what we did 10 years ago. With the technology that we have today, we can't fly to the moon because the old lady wrote it out on the napkin and now it threw away the napkin, so we're not able to go to the moon. I'm not here to talk about whether or not people went to the moon or how many people or when or who did or who didn't. This is not about the moon, but there's like sometimes people are like, like, oh, NASA lost their ability to fly to the moon. And it's like, did we lose our ability to be able to edit and modify and customize our ability to do stuff on social media? It's like, I want to be able to decide whether or not I want my news feed to be curated or not. But there's a heavy emphasis that Mark gave on, oh, curation is so good. And if you don't have it, people are gonna gamify it. I'll tell you something, Mark. No matter what you do with the AI, people are gonna gamify it. So what's the point? I mean, I understand. I get that you're trying to minimize harm. You're trying to minimize the gamification that people do in regards to like spam and trolls and misinformation and hate speech and all of this stuff, whether it's right or wrong, whether we have the freedom to do it or not, it's like it's crazy, because I just want the freedom to be able to look at what I want to look at. And if I want to look at junk, are you gonna stare me down and say, sorry, you're not allowed to look at junk? It's like, if I come onto Facebook and you say I can do it, and then you come to me later on and say, sorry, just kidding, you can't do it anymore. I'm like, that's not fair. It's not fair. You just like totally change the rules. Imagine like you're playing a basketball game and halfway between, like in the middle of the basketball game, it's like the referee says, sorry, you're not playing basketball anymore. Now we're playing football. Now we're playing golf. I thought I was playing basketball. No. Now you're playing baseball. Now you're playing hockey. Now you're playing a board game. Like, give me a break. I came here to play a basketball game. I came to Facebook to do Facebook, but now it's not Facebook anymore. That's one of the things that I have a problem with. I also have a problem with selective enforcement. And, I mean, that's a pretty crazy thing. And, you know, with the thing with the Mark trying not to have any responsibilities by saying, oh, I don't make a lot of decisions anymore. You know, like, oh, we give it out to these other people, the fact checkers, who are not actually fact checkers, who get stuff wrong, who base a lot of their stuff off the fake news as their source of, oh, this is true because the fake news said it. The fake news said it because you said it. And there's like a little bit of a circle going on. It's like, oh, the doctor said this, or the scientist said that. But what about the other doctors? What about the other scientists? Oh, we don't believe them. We only believe our doctors, not your doctors. We only believe our scientists, including Fauci. It's like, give me a break. So it's like, that's one of the some of the problems I have with Facebook is they're just up to no good, and their rules are not consistent. It's unpredictable. There is selective enforcement. There's a lot of weaponization. The design is terrible. It's designed without web pages, which is crazy, because instead of a web page, for the most part, what you get is infinite scrolling, where you have to scroll down to see your own posts on your wall, on your timeline, on your Facebook account, your Facebook page, your Facebook group, your Facebook events, whatever it is. You know, it's like you have to scroll down on the web page or on the newsfeed. You have to scroll down. You can't click on page 2 like you do with, like, say, a Google search result, and you click on page 2, page 3. And that comes in handy, because sometimes you need to go to specific places right away. You need to go there right away. And so there's just so much that Facebook used to have that they could still have that they went away from. And they didn't have to go away with it. Like, they didn't have to stop having a timeline, like, not a timeline, but a family tree that connected you with all of your friends and to all of their friends. Like, you could see in a nice little, like, family tree map your connection to other people and how they're connected to other people, and it was really cool. And they did away with it, and they didn't have to do that, and they are simply not consistent or transparent with the rules, and it's crazy, and I'm not happy with it. And this whole interview is mostly just a PR stunt. Big PR stunt. I know you're wondering, when are you gonna come out with a summary of this interview? Coming soon, yeah.